we're going to look at the 5 ways that we might be people-pleasing in our life and that we may not even realise that we're doing it, and therefore we get hurt. So let's dive into it. So, 5 ways we might be people-pleasing. Let's just start with what the hell is people-pleasing. People-pleasing is really this kind of thing we do for control, isn't it? We're trying to control other people's perspectives of us. We're trying to control the way they view us, really. We're trying to treat people nicely, perhaps, and please them so that they please us. And we have to recognize, isn't it? A relationship isn't a transaction. We must be strong in our truth, and that's why we're doing the yoga and the sadhana, to understand the truth of beingness that I may then sit in and have authority in. All of us can do this. And then I am not needing to please other people because I don't need them to like me. Of course, it's nice if people like you, and trust you, if you're in the authority of being, people are going to love you because you're blessing the hell out of their lives. And you're going to be really easy to be with. Why? Because you don't need anything from them. So, this is people pleasing. We are going to now have a look at the 5 ways we might be doing it that we're not actually aware that we're doing it. The first one, though, I think we will be aware, and that's just outright trying to please people to get something back from them. That was too simple, Jamie. You probably shouldn't have done that one, but hey ho, that's the first one. Outright just making my life about pleasing other people so that I don't get in trouble, or so that I'm liked by people. But actually, you can't control whether they like you or not. And so most of the time we lose on this front, isn't it? And then because I'm invested in the way that they see me, or I'm invested in them needing to like me, as soon as they do something that makes them not like me, or as soon as they look like, even sometimes it can be done with a facial expression that they don't like me anymore, that's it for us, isn't it? Tears us apart. And so this is some of the consequences, really, that we have of people pleasing. It's a dangerous sport and a really unfair transaction, because most of the time who loses? The people pleaser. We do. We lose. Not that it's a battle, because it isn't, but we have to be able to protect ourselves, because what's all of this stuff about anyway? It's about our well-being. We must take care of our well-being. We must do steps to safeguard our well-being from predators, from others, isn't it? The second way that we might people please without realizing that we're doing it is lying to others to make them feel better about themselves. Now, I'm not saying, sometimes when the girlfriend comes and says, "Oh, do you like this dress that I'm wearing?" and you don't like it, for example, or the boyfriend comes in his jeans and he says, "Do you like these jeans I'm wearing?" and you don't like it. I'm not saying outright go and say, "No, they're absolutely horrible, get them off." What I'm saying is, sometimes what we do is we lie to the people that we love, don't we, just to make them feel better about themselves. But then, in a way, are we in integrity with ourselves in this situation? Is there a way that I can do it in a kind way and say, do you know whether that colour or that shape really fits you or suits you or something, or whatever, in this way? There's ways to stay in your truth and be kind, because truth without compassion isn't truth, truly. So, of course, we're always aiming to be compassionate, but not people-pleasing for an ulterior motive, which in this case is so that I don't look like a bad person or something like this. Sometimes we just have to be okay with looking like a bad person. I'm not saying be really strong with this, but compassion is, of course, needed. But if we just had that idea inside of ourselves, because we know we're good, conscientious people, isn't it, here on this channel? And so we know that we're not going to actually intend to hurt somebody. We've got our ducks in a row in that way. And so we can my teacher always used to say, so long as you're doing your sadhana is just your daily spiritual practice to bring about the highest aliveness of energy in the body and shift the trajectory of your life so that you take off to the moon in a way. No, but so that your life becomes the best, you become the best version of you possible in your life. He used to say, so long as you're doing your sadhana, you can take the idea that you can do no wrong. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be friction. You can't control all of life. Sometimes there's going to be friction, and you're going to stand in your truth, and the other person won't like it, and that's okay too. It doesn't have to turn violent, of course. Compassion. Always. Can't fake that, though. We have to really be in that, and so that's a training in itself, but that's for another day. So, number 3. Sometimes we might make ourselves smaller when somebody else becomes aggressive. Now, I deal with this a lot, right? So will you, People can project their own inner issues onto you. Now, we may not notice it in the moment that we're doing it. Within reason, I'm getting pretty good at noticing it in the moment. A little slip up a couple of days ago, and then boom, forgave myself, because that's what you got to do, isn't it? If you miss something, it's all right, just forgive yourself, fine, I'll be better next time. When somebody's projecting their stuff onto you, their unhealed wounds or whatever, we as people pleasers usually sensitive people generally are people pleasers, right? But we can make ourselves small. We can take on what they're saying, their projections, and we take it on and we go, oh, sorry. Then we might get a bit defensive and we say, actually, no, I wasn't doing that. And of course, then you've given all of your power away to that person who just then wants to put the focus back on you and the things that you're doing wrong. So how is this a subtle form of people pleasing? Well, what we're trying to do by making ourselves small and putting them on a pedestal and believing them against us is we're subconsciously, and it is really, really subtle, saying, okay, I'm giving more power to you than me right now, so that you stop this aggression, so that you stop projecting on me. I don't mind accepting that I'm wrong, so that you stop this. Again, very subtle, but it's a subtle form of control, subtle form of people pleasing. It's like, I'll make myself small so that you'll stop hurting me, or whatever, But does it work? The answer is no, because they tend to get more and more aggressive and then more and more projecting, because the only thing they don't want to do is take responsibility in that moment, and you're taking it for them in a way. And so then, because we take that responsibility, we become the punching bag for a predator. It's dangerous stuff, really, isn't it? And when I say predator, I don't mean like dinosaur. I'm just talking about an ego, because egos can be very, very predatory. We recognise this in systems of abuse all over the world, isn't it? And all through our lives in different aspects. So, number 4, I just mentioned this, but it's believing other people's projections of you. So projection, like we mentioned, is when people have unhealed stuff that they then project onto you. And of course, it can be really tough when that happens, because ultimately, what do we need to try and do in this situation? Well, we need to try and let the other person know that we understand how they feel, but without making them wrong or us wrong in the process, and standing in our truth and saying, hey, I don't see it that way, or something like this, or hey, I have lots of love for you here, but I can see what you're doing, I understand it, but this isn't the way it is for me. These are some ways that we can ask, without asking, the other person to take a look inside and begin to take the responsibility that they're really not wanting to take in this situation. 5. And this is so big and took me so long to realise, and it's agreeing to other people's blame. Blame is by consent, meaning if you blame me for something that I've done, and I know that I haven't done it, yet I still agree to your blame, I'm trying to people please. I'm trying to stop you from blaming me by making you feel righteous or right in this scenario, even though I know deep down that I'm not. I might be scared of the consequences or something of even you saying these things, and so I might begin to do this process of allowing that blame or believing it too after a while, because the mind can really do that, can't it? You know, in our awareness, in our stillness, in our beingness, are we blamed? No, we're blameless, isn't it? Okay, check yourself, of course. You know, if you've got a dodgy intention and you really did do something that's like not the best, then should this be still, can we say that you're still blameless? Well, in a way, you have to take responsibility for what you've done, and in this world, there might be punishment for it. So, I do this thing where I'm really scared to do something, I believe I'm doing something wrong. Okay? And then that can make you a predator for blame. If people blame you, you're going to believe it. Why? Because you believe, as your default, most of the time, that you're doing something wrong, or you do have the potential to be doing something wrong. And of course, this has been guilt-tripped into you. This has been a master manipulation, probably from parents, but also from friends and peers who have used manipulation as a tactic to control you. And so therefore we blame ourselves and believe that we're always doing something wrong. See, guilt always seeks punishment. And then you might go and do things to punish you, to try and absolve the pain, but it doesn't work. The thing is, you're blameless, so long as you're actually blameless, you know, then you're blameless, isn't it? And so you don't have to consent to their blame. That would be another form of subtle, very subtle control, and therefore people pleasing, so that they stop, but they won't, and so it doesn't work. And so we have to set strong boundaries, isn't it, so that we don't get hurt.